National School Counseling Week. I'm going to read the proclamation into the minutes. Accept the proclamation for National School Counseling Week. Whereas school counselors are employed in public and private schools to help students reach their full potential, and whereas school counselors are actively committed to helping students explore their abilities, strengths, interests, and talents as those traits relate to career awareness and development, and whereas school counselors help parents focus on ways to further the educational, personal, and social growth of their children, and whereas school counselors work with teachers and other educators to help students explore their potential and set realistic goals for themselves, and whereas school counselors seek to identify and utilize community resources that can enhance and complement comprehensive school counseling programs and help students become productive members of society, and whereas comprehensive development school counseling programs are considered an integral part of the educational process that enables all students to achieve success in school. Therefore, I do hereby proclaim February 3rd through 7th, 2014 as National School Counseling Week. Items, remarks, and committee reports to be presented by board members. Mr. Frieda?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would just like to congratulate our student athletes. It's always a pleasure sitting on the Board of Education and having the opportunity to recognize the accomplishments of all of our students. And tonight, of course, goes without exception. So congratulations to all of our students. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Frieda. Mr. Kubler?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd also like to follow up where Mr. Frieda, what he said, congratulating our student athletes. Quite an accomplishment, and we show what hard work, dedication could do, and the perseverance that came from obvious one team to losing season to winning. It's a great accomplishment, and congratulations again, and keep up the hard work, dedication, because not only does it stop with the coaches, but it also starts with the home family values and morals there as well. And I would like to thank the parents as well who are here for their accomplishments as well, because it's an achievement on their end as well. Secondly, I'd like to also indicate that we had basically a budget committee meeting where we discussed what the audit report was, and obviously we're not happy where we stand right now, but we're looking for the resolution from our administration to address the significant items, and they're making progress in that, and we're going to have a follow-up meeting in the next couple of days to discuss that as well. And that's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Kubler. Ms. Torrey?
I'd like to congratulate our student athletes as well. Congratulations to them tonight, and wages to their families with the structure starts out, and as you can see, the results are well deserved. I'd also like to indicate that the policy committee meeting did meet, and that we reviewed certain policies that are under review, and I think we're going to be talking about some of that stuff later on this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Zangari?
Again, I'd like to congratulate all of the students this evening. Also, I'd like to second what Dr. Feldman said earlier about our SGL. They really show what Belleville is all about. I want to thank Mr. Frieda for hosting a great technology meeting over the weekend. It really took us up to speed and see where we were at. I'd also like to thank Mr. Kubler, Mrs. Torres, John, and Al, everyone who's worked on budget and policy. I know they're spending a lot of time. It's not easy work. I've been on both of them committees, and I know it does require. That is all I have this evening, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Zangari. Mrs. Lombardi?
I also want to congratulate all of our athletes, the coaches, and especially Mr. D'Elia for running an excellent athletic department and programs. I also want to mention that on January 9th, we participated in the Super Kids Super Sharing event at Essex County College with the NFL, in combination with the NFL. Thanks to Mr. Klotzkin and Mr. Sheridan. And Belleville donated 3,500 books that we no longer use here to children and areas that need, that don't have and need them. Also want to say that our grant committee meeting is scheduled for Thursday the 30th. And Mr. Frieda and Mr. Zingari, I would love to have a technology update to see where we are currently at with our systems and technology. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. I will echo what my fellow board members have said. I congratulate all the student athletes. Great job, wonderful job. Thank you for the coaches and Mr. D'Elia. I hope everyone had a pleasant holiday season, and I look forward to a progressive new year. Remarks by citizens. Remarks regarding agenda items and issues that are relevant to the educational system. A participant must sign in and be recognized by the presiding officer and must preface comments by an announcement of his or her name, place of residence, and group affiliation if appropriate. The individual's call shall proceed with a maximum of 5 minutes. All statements shall be directed to the President of the Board of Education. No participant may address the board members individually. May I have a motion to open for public participation? May I have a second? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Marie Bliston, would you please come to the podium, state your name, address, and group affiliation if appropriate.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. My name is Marie Bliston. I am a career teacher from Gloucester County, New Jersey, and I'm also the proud Vice President of the New Jersey Education Association. Representing over 200,000 of the public school employees in our great state. And on behalf of NJEA, we also offer our congratulations to the student athletes, to the students in the student government program, their parents, and the staff members who made this all possible. And we thank the Board of Education for also supporting those programs. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak before you. As board members here in Belleville, I don't need to tell any of you the fine reputation that Belleville has enjoyed over past many years, mainly because, as in other districts, what the public school system's reputation is here as well. In fact, some of the outstanding works we've heard just earlier tonight, but they also include the anticipated and upcoming art show, the music program, the mall projects that Belleville has consistently participated in, the Toys for Tots program, where I saw that one of your buildings alone, over 400 toys were brought together from the teachers and from the students. From the Respect Week that I saw in your website that you celebrated in October. And like the tens of thousands of other members across this great state, your members here as well, your staff, are top-notch, highly educated, and duly qualified professionals and advocates for the children in this community. And when I went onto your website, because I always do my homework, I saw that you proudly displayed a common mission, that I saw words throughout your district that said integrity, citizenship, service, scholarship, collaboration, and respect. And when I went on your employment opportunity page, I saw that, quote, Belleville is a great place to work with wonderful employment opportunities. Become a part of our family. However, those words are meaningless without the actions that must be attached to it. I am here tonight because it has come to my attention that something is amiss here. Something is very wrong. There seems to be a discrepancy with what those words say happens here and what is happening right now. NJEA worked with the BEA to conduct an employee climate survey, and the results were simply shocking. When asked if there is intimidation in the workplace, nearly 100% of the members responded that there was. And when asked who they felt was intimidated, 66% of them said that it was you, the Board of Education. Moreover, nearly 3/4 of those members felt that taking their concerns back to their union and back to you would result in punitive consequences for them. I know that they watched their union president brought up on tenure charges coincidentally right after the board meeting where he came to discuss the feelings that the members were having. Actions, ladies and gentlemen, actions are what demonstrate to the members of the Belleville Education Association to why they're feeling mistreated, vilified, and denigrated. For them and for NJEA, I am here to tell you that those types of actions are completely unacceptable. Today in our great state, finally, bullying has been made a law that we cannot bully. And where no one should be bullied or feel that they are inferior to another, especially in this profession where collaboration is a must in order for students to learn. And as we have all well learned very recently, bullying and intimidation is not accepted here, it's not accepted in this state, and it is not accepted nationally. And I know that you must realize that this perception of intimidation and mistrust will only shortchange the students, and it will only shortchange the reputation of this school and of this entire community. And not one of you, not one of us, wants that to happen. And that's why I stand here and I commend the BEA for taking a stand and for recognizing and publicly stating that a safe, healthy, collaborative workplace environment is not only good for them, not only will make them better, but also is what is best for our children. And so I urge all of you tonight to take a close look at the perception of what is happening here. Sit down with the association leadership, with the NJEA staff, and get through to the bottom of it. And I ask you very respectfully, but very strongly, to put back into your mission statement the real meaning of those words of integrity, of collaboration, of respect, and of family. And thank you again for being here.
Mike Mignon, Westville, 23 Westville, Caldwell. I'm the BEA president. Good evening. My name is Mike Mignon, and I'm the president of the Belleville Education Association. I'm here tonight to again speak on behalf of over 400 members of the BEA. As you all know, the BEA has expressed concerns about the lack of adequate supplies necessary for our students' success. And we have expressed concerns about the district's decision to fund an expensive surveillance system instead of providing these basic supplies. But I'm not here tonight to rehash those feelings. I'm here tonight to let you know we're not the only ones who are concerned. We're not the only ones that believe in a quality education for our students and fair labor practices for my members. Look around you. The people you see are all here tonight because they, like us, want to see things around here change. They, like us, are here because we are no longer willing to be satisfied with silence. They are here because all of these groups are united in their passion to secure a bright future for Belleville students. These last couple of weeks have been difficult for all of us. No doubt about it. But these last couple of weeks have also been some of the most gratifying. It's gratifying when I hear from parents who care about their children's education and are dismayed when they don't have the tools they need to thrive. It's gratifying to hear from business owners who know that the key to their thriving business is directly linked to having a thriving community and school system. It's gratifying to speak to our state and local legislators, to hear their ideas and witness their concerns for our situation. But most of all, it's gratifying to hear from my members that they are more dedicated than ever to standing up for themselves and for their students. You see, Belleville members care deeply about Belleville's school district and the Belleville community. That's why they are so committed to our causes. So again, I urge the board to work with the BEA, not against us. Unite with us in our quest to do what is right, because our children deserve a Belleville that is united, not divided. Thank you.
Ivina?
Greetings, board. Greetings, everybody. My name is Michael Iavino. In the interest of full disclosure, I'm from the class of '86, from Belleville High School, and I was class clown. Mr. Zangari, I remember substituting for you, and Alphonse, we shared the halls together, and I see a couple other of fellow alumni, and I see a lot of proud and awesome teachers. I did well after I graduated Belleville High School and dropped out of law school. I spent the last 17 years of my life as a teacher, an educator, giving back. I chose Newark to go and fight for the children. When you look at what's going on in Belleville, you can see how difficult it would be to be a teacher in Newark. Since then, I've been an education activist. I co-founded New Jersey Teacher Activist Group, brought Occupy Newark to Newark. I started the Newark Education Workers Caucus, which now seats half the NTU Executive Board. I'm now a member of the Newark Teachers Union Executive Board, and I pledge that next week at our Executive Board meeting, I will propose a resolution so that the Newark Teachers Union will stand united with the Belleville Education Association. In Newark, as most of you know, we fight, with all due respect, a much bigger fight against bullies and privatization and education capitalists. It's sad that Newark has to fight against outsiders who seek to come into Newark and take away the authority that the locals have. It's even sadder to see my hometown have the power taken away by people who are Belleville natives. Yep. And I think it's awesome and exciting for me to come back and finally bring the fight that I fought for the last 17 years in Newark to my hometown. Because I am embarrassed and shocked and dismayed that so many people who dedicate their lives to the children have to work in fear because their jobs are held ransom to a board and to a member from everybody that who I speak to seems to mention the name Unuzi every 2 seconds.
Whoa. Yeah. There's the background. There it is. There's the problem.
As a resident, my parents and grandparents helped build this town. I'm a unionist. And when you attack the union, you attack all of us. You attack the foundation of America. I owe nobody in this town my job because I work in Newark. But my driver's license and my blood is Belleville. And it's going to stay that way. Clearly, we see board members who are inspired by a bully governor who despises unionized public education workers. And for too long, many of us, unfortunately, have sat back and let boards of education across the country dictate to people who know better, who have been educated better, who have spent more time in the classroom, dictate to them what they think they know is best. We know where the front line is. It's in the classroom. We also know that the property value of our towns are tied to the value of our education. But more importantly, your heart should be tied to the public education. And if you continue to do what you're doing, not only will you destroy the town, the private property, the public property, and the value, but you're taking away the future of America. You're taking away the future of the children from Belleville who would have had an opportunity to go forward and make something of themselves, like clearly all of you intend to do, whether it be political aspirations or aspirations elsewhere. If you're not inspiring the children in this town, you're destroying them. So for that, again, I have set up a few things that I think will be helpful. Belleville Fights Back at Gmail for any teacher who is interested in contacting somebody who owes nothing to nobody. At Belleville Now, a Twitter account to provide anybody who's following it instant and information. And I don't know anything to anybody. My parents are at 9 Madison Street. I grew up in Belleville. Anybody can knock on my door at any time. I'll be glad to talk to them, tell them exactly how I feel. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Naomi DePena, and I am a homeowner at 26 Charles Street. I am a teacher at school number 4, and I'm also a BA member. Today I would just like to speak as a mom and a proud Belleville resident. My husband and I moved to this town 4 years ago. We fell in love with the town, and it felt like a great place for us to raise our children. I have been happily teaching in Belleville for 7 years. And in the last few years, I have seen a great increase in classroom size and a decline in teacher support, morale, and materials for the classroom. Taking all of these things in consideration, we were forced to make the difficult and expensive decision to send our children to private school. We pay taxes with amounts comparable to other towns that have smaller classroom sizes or have more supplies for their classrooms. However, here I stand, a Belleville public school teacher who cannot send her own children to the public schools in which she teaches. Not because my coworkers cannot do a good job raising my children to the standard that I believe that they deserve, but because they do not have the support or means to do so. I am currently teaching, like many of my coworkers, in a crowded classroom without a curriculum aligned to Common Core standards, without textbooks, with a broken printer, desk, and filing cabinet. There are students in my classroom whose needs warrant them to be in a different educational program. However, they cannot be given the best services they're entitled to because there isn't space available for them at other programs that are better suited for their special needs. So I am faced with the great task of educating my students to the best of my abilities, subscribing to every teacher support website, spending countless hours copying worksheets on a copy machine that may or may not work. Because we can't afford textbooks. But I do have top-of-the-line security cameras in my classroom. I stand here as a teacher asking you to recognize that we are not the enemy. A kingdom divided against itself cannot stand. We want to work together to offer our children the best education possible. I also stand here as a parent, asking you to work together with the teachers and the parents. We have a better chance of success if we work together towards this common goal, to make our public school system the best it could ever be. I am asking you to make a change so that I can proudly send my children to our Belleville public schools. Thank you.
Tom McComb.
Tom McCrone, Continental Avenue, Belleville. I'm a little confused. It was my understanding that anything the Board of Education does has to be done through a resolution. If I'm wrong, correct me. But if that's the case, I know that the students and teachers in School 10 were told just before Christmas break that they would have a different principal when they came back in January, that their principal was being moved to the Board of Education. If that's the case, there should have been a resolution either last month or this month's agenda. There isn't. I heard a rumor, and again, I can only go by rumors because I don't see things in print. And I don't get to see things on the television anymore because you've stopped televising the committee meeting or the meetings. But I was told that that principle may have been reinstated. If that's the fact, then again, there should be a resolution correcting the resolution that moved. I'm also under the impression, through rumors, that teachers have been, they've been suspended. Again, I would think if that was done, there would have to be something in a resolution. There's none in tonight's, there was none in last month's. So again, if I'm wrong about things going in resolutions, I would like to be corrected. If what I'm saying is wrong, the only reason it's wrong is because we're not, as a community, really knowing or being told what's going on. If we can't see it on the website, and today's agenda wasn't on the website until at least after lunch, if you don't come to the meetings, and unfortunately not everybody can make a Monday night meeting, if you don't, I lost it. If it isn't televised, most of the community have no idea what's going on. People keep talking about transparency. And if that's truly your goal, to be as transparent as you can be, hiding some of the things that you do by not putting it on paper certainly makes us, the taxpayers, concerned. Thank you.
Please come to the podium, state your name, address, and group affiliation if appropriate.
Who?
Pat Dolan.
Pat Dolan, 67 Harrison Street. I read in the agenda that you're moving the Board of Ed election to November. 2 years ago, when we had the option of moving to November, the total board said no. It's not fair to the residents in Belleville not to be able to vote on the budget. Why all of a sudden are we moving it to November?
If you're looking for answers to questions, there are several reasons why it was moved. One is that we're one of only 2 boards left in the county that is still on the April schedule. And one of only probably maybe 30 in the whole state. Before we get mandated to move it, we just figured that we would do it before we were mandated to do so. Also, it also saves the district money by moving it to the general election. Okay, it saves us about $35,000. And also, we figure that in November, we'll have greater participation.
Okay, well then why couldn't we move it to the election for the council and have it all together? I'm sorry?
That's not allowed in the statute.
That's not allowed. Okay. So anyone that wants, Mr. Longo and Mr. Frieda, they're running for council. Now, if they don't get into council, they can still run for the Board of Ed. So that's correct?
Anyone who wants to run for the Board of Ed can run for the Board of
Okay,
Ed.
so now
There are certain requirements. If
Now
they
the
meet the
petition-
requirements, they can run.
the petition for someone to run for the Board of Ed is not necessary to be filed by March, correct?
If the resolution passes, no.
Okay, I'm sure it will. Thank you.
Joan Smith, please come to the podium, state your name, address, and group affiliation if appropriate.
Joan Schmidt, 61 Hill Street. I have a copy here of the Board of Education Employment Opportunities that I took off the internet. According to this, you're advertising. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. According to this, you're advertising for a board secretary / school board administrator with a valid certificate and minimum 5-year successful experience as a board secretary, school business administrator. You're also advertising for an experienced assistant school business administrator, minimum of 1 year experience. To my knowledge, we've never had an assistant business administrator. Am I wrong? Does anyone know? No.
I'm not prepared to answer that, I don't know
I've been here
that.
52 years and I don't remember anything. And if you don't know who you're hiring for the new business administrator, how do you know he's going to need an assistant? No answer? No comment?
This is your time.
Okay. Thank you very much. Just let the public know.
Brian McCann, please come to the podium, state your name, address, and group affiliation if appropriate. McCann? Brian? Microphones are on, and I can speak for it pretty loud, so I'm sure he can hear me. If he's not in the room, he's not ready to speak. We're going to move on. Carrie Smith, please come to the podium. State your name, address, and group affiliation if appropriate.
Good evening, my name is Carrie Smith. I live at 685 Mill Street. I'm here on behalf of...
Close to your lips.
I'll speak up. I'm here because I'm concerned about what's going on at my school, at my son's school. Mid-year, our principal is taken out with no notice and put in an office where, in my opinion, she serves no purpose. She belongs in the building where she is. 3 weeks after that, a teacher was pulled, one of the best in the building, and put in another school. These things are all happening abruptly in the middle of the year. I just want to know, is anyone thinking about how this is affecting our kids? You know, my son is doing really well this year, and I don't take credit for that wholly. It starts from the bottom up. The teachers that worked with him are phenomenal. He's done so well up to this point, and I hate to see that disrupted for someone's political agenda. I'm not here to attack anyone personally, but our kids shouldn't have to suffer behind political decisions.
Right.
And if that's the case, it's definitely going to sway the way I vote. Absolutely. I held a lot of you in high regard and had respect for a lot of you up there. But when it comes down to the kids, there's no place for politics in our school. None. I'm concerned going forward that if this continues and more teachers are taken out or put on special assignment or put in a cubicle, that what's going to happen to my son? Where's his test scores going to go? Where's his grades going to go? I worked very hard to get him where he is. I sacrificed my whole career to stay home and give him the best opportunity I can. And I shouldn't have to fight as a parent against the people that we elected to be our children's advocates. You know, we work together at School 10. When the teachers need something for the classroom, the home and school finds it in their budget to squeeze it in and give it to them. We don't raise money to put TVs in every classroom. We raise money to give our kids a step up. They wanted weekly readers to compensate for what they're missing. We provide that for them. We don't provide video recordings, and we want to give our kids the best education. And if I have to raise money every week to help the teachers pay for that, I will do that. And I try really hard to help them out the best that we can. But I can't do it if you're coming in and taking our teachers out. There's a saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it. We are not broken at number 10. Don't fix us. Thank you.
I wanted to respond to you, if that's okay? All right, Miss Ravel was not ever removed from the school. We had excuse me, let me finish, please. We had a CUSAC evaluation. The state came in. Miss Ravel assisted us with the CUSAC in being an emissary and an ambassador with them to take us to all the schools, to take them to all the schools and to help out so that we could get a plan so that we can rectify and make sure that our children get a good education. The other thing was, in your particular school, you had 2 classrooms. Each class only had 12 children in it. In order for the taxpayers not to have to pay for 2 teachers, when the class size can be up to 25, I felt that it was appropriate to put the kindergarten class together and move the other teacher into a position that didn't matter which teacher, but into a position that would not entail hiring somebody at this point to cover a maternity leave between now and the end of the year. But Ms. Ravel was not removed, and there was not a political angle for any of those schools. They were not at all.
But my point is, I don't have a problem with making changes that need to be made. But why is it done mid-year? You knew you had this issue in September.
Not CUSAC, no.
No, I'm talking about the teacher situation.
Well, what we did was, I'll tell you why it happened.
Or in June.
What happened was, previous history showed that there was a number of students that were moving in, you look at the year before and you make a determination. Well, we really believed that there were going to be more students coming in. When they didn't come in, that was the only school in which what the projection was did not meet a standard. In 2 other schools, if you are aware, what we had to do was, there were too many children in the class. I had to open 3 additional classes so that teachers would not have very large overcrowded classes to meet the state standard. So what we did was an equalization. It really is very difficult to make a determination. If a family moves in with 1 child, or somebody moves in with 5 children, sometimes it's hard to make that. In our case, if you take a look at the overall, there was only 1 underserved class, and there were 3 classes that needed to be divided up.
Okay, but as a parent, from a parent perspective, I see the children are affected by these changes when they come so abruptly, okay? For example, I'm going to give you my personal example. My son, his teacher had a personal issue she had to attend to, okay? Right after Miss Ravel was gone, right after the teacher was...
Miss Ravel did come to her school every day.
She's back now, and I
No,
hope
but she did come to her school to conduct the meetings, to take care of everything. Okay.
Okay, and then the teacher was placed somewhere else, and then his teacher had a personal issue. My son comes to me and says, is my teacher not coming back like Miss Ravel and Miss Mazika? How do I explain that when I don't know what's going on from day to day? I don't know if she's not going to come back, but I do know she had a personal issue and she came back. But the kids are affected by these types of changes, and that was my whole point. It's not about us. The kids are affected. And to sit and think that they're not is silly, because I saw in just 3 weeks, the whole atmosphere of our school has changed. We have such a pleasant atmosphere in that building, thanks to our principal and our teachers and everyone who is there, down to the custodian. Everyone there works together, and it's such a pleasant place to be. And the kids feel that, and the kids like to go to school. They like to be there. But when things like this happen so abruptly in the middle of the year, now they're all on edge. They have cameras everywhere. Some of the kids are afraid. I understand that. So you explain to them the best you can, this is for your safety. And if this is for safety, why are there no cameras in the stairways, but there's cameras in the closets? That, I think, is kind of silly. There's no children in the closets ever, but the children are in the stairways all day. But there's no cameras in the stairways. We're here as parents, there's no cameras in the stairways, and there are cameras in closets at School 10. Absolutely there are. And if you'd like to see them, I can take you and show you them tomorrow. Absolutely. It's just silly that, we're saying this is all for the kids, but then no one is thinking about the kids in the long run. I'm thinking about my son going forward and all the other kids. These things have to be thought out and think about how the kids are going to be affected by even the slightest change. Because some kids don't do well with the slightest bit of change at school. There has to be stability all year. Thank you.
If you're good, please come to the podium, state your name, address, and group affiliation if appropriate.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Lucia Good. I live at 1405 Hamilton Street. Okay. I'm a parent at School 10. My daughter has attended there since kindergarten. Without being redundant from what Carrie just said, you know, I definitely was concerned when Ms. Ravel, my daughter told me, and I didn't actually believe her because I didn't receive any paperwork on it. And so I kind of texted someone and found out that it was true, and it was still kind of unclear and who the new principal was and who was in the building. It was just unclear from a parent perspective. I'm kind of coming from a very positive place in that I love this school. Since we've been there, my daughter loves the teachers. They're fully supportive of her. She's very comfortable in the classroom, even the times where she's not fully clear on whether she's learning or not, or what she's getting. And then on a bigger place, School 10 feels like such an amazing family. I had surgery last year, 3 actually, 2, whatever. And from Mrs. Bellata, Mrs. Rovell, wonderful board member, even Jeannie, everyone was fully supportive. So beyond just the education, the fact that these children have an opportunity to learn in a comfortable environment needs to be considered when all of these changes are being made, and also including the parents as well, because then we start to wonder, you know, what's happening and do we have an input, do we have a say? So without getting, you know, I don't come to these meetings, I'll be honest, but when I had heard, and I felt very strongly that I needed to come and at least support and stand up for these educators that are in the School 10 building, because my daughter thrives there, and it would be awful if that, you know, discontinued. So that's all I have.
Vincent Frantantoni, please come to the podium, state your name, address, and group affiliation if appropriate.
Vincent Frantantoni, 129 Mount Prospect Avenue. Is this on? Board members, my wife and I have lived in Belleville 47 years. We've been involved in the school system over 36 years since my oldest child started kindergarten. And let me tell you something, this is the worst board I've ever seen. The patronage jobs that have been given out and the positions that have been transferred or terminated or politically changed around is hurting our school too. It's hurting our children and it's wasting our taxpayers' money. We've hired superintendents and assistant superintendents, which we got rid of years ago. We didn't need a assistant super, as long as we had qualified superintendent, which we did have for many years. No offense to you, I'm just referring to this board, their actions they're taking. All of a sudden we need, but many of these superintendents and assistant superintendents just entered and left through the Belleville School revolving door with lucrative termination contracts. And who did it hurt? The taxpayers and the children. We're tired of this stuff. Now, I won't mention the character's name like was previously mentioned, because I threw him out of my house 23 years ago. But everybody in town knows that he's pulling not only this board, but the council around by the rings in their noses. And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that professional people like you would let a character like this dictate what's going on in our school system. I believe, and many others, that our former Board of Education attorney, with over decades of school experience was dumped for political reasons.
Yeah.
This hurts us and all that. Lucrative contract was given to a board member's relative, all right? We're wasting money. Our school enrollment is increasing, yet we give away a school. We give it away to the council, and you know the reason, because you knew the council had the power to declare the redevelopment area and give it to a developer. And in the last few weeks, we demolished a school that could have been easily renovated for under $10 million. And
Mr. Frantantoni, I'm going to interrupt you right there, because you've been coming to this board meeting, these board meetings quite some time. That school's been closed since 1980. It no longer met the state requirements to be a school. There's no way that we could have revitalized that to be another school building. And we no longer own it. It's no longer our issue.
Well,
so when you accused us of trying to sell it to our friends, we went out for bid twice, and we couldn't even get somebody to bid $1 on it.
because one bid had to be changed because I went to the Attorney General and proved the impropriety of that bid.
That's That was not this Board of Education. I'm talking about the 2 times since I've been on the board.
Yes.
That we went out for bid.
And that's it, and I have all the documentation. And Mr. Rivera, in regards to your statement, you're only Johnny come lately. I never saw you at a board meeting until you ran for election. But let me tell you, the former boards of education hired the firm of Murphy, Dixon, and Hurst. And they came up with a plan to renovate it for school purposes. And at that time, they estimated $6 to $8 million. So don't tell me it couldn't be rehabbed as a school again. Number one. Number two, it was not.
You're wrong, Mr. Frantantoni. We've retained FKA, okay? And after they did a full facility studies, their report to us was, get rid of School 1. It's a liability. It'll never be a school. It does not meet state standards. It's not grandfathered in because it's been offline for so long. You have oil tanks under that ground. Who knows? The asbestos. This wasn't our decision. This was the education engineering specialist. This was their report to us.
No, it's funny.
And when you go to put out for a bid,
anybody else for speaking, but I urge you to watch your words, because in your own advertisement to sell the school, and I have copies of it, you put in there that the oil tanks were emptied and cleaned, and that you installed new boilers in that school system. So you better remember what you advertise. To follow up on your statement, Mr. Rivera, the school was not vacant since 1980. For many years, it was used for Board of Education administrative offices, and I have the picture just before I demolished it. It still says
Administrative
but it
office is
wasn't
not a
used as a
school,
school in
sir.
30 years.
It wasn't. It hasn't been a school since 1980.
And you could have rehabbed.
1980. It did not meet the state requirements.
You could have
I'm tired of hearing about school.
You could have rehabbed
It's
it
done.
for millions, because you could have done it for $10 million. When you're going to need a new school, you're going to spend $40 to $50 million on the taxpayers' back. So let me finish this. Now, in addition to that, it's just been alleged, and you tell me if this is true, being you want to answer me, you normally know, that the Clarity, the new security company, has hired a board member's son and a member of the board attorney's family. Is that correct?
I have no idea. You can request that information from them.
Okay. Well, that's what I'm saying. Now, these other people have said a lot of things I'm going to say. I'm not going to be redundant. But one thing I do say, the representative of the NPA used some words that I and my 6 siblings heard growing up from my mother. Actions speak louder than words. And your actions are speaking very loud. And the whole community knows that the improper things going on in the school system. And what it does, it boils down to this. You're wasting taxpayers' money, and in my opinion, it's child abuse. Thank you.
Jeff
Jeff Mattingly, 56 Walnut Street, parent, homeowner, business owner for Belleville. Since this majority rule that we're all here to talk about and the actions that we've been affected by, this administration has produced 500 children that are not historically or presently supported by our demographics. This board has seen fit to remove the title of domicile investigators and fire the two that were loved and respected and kept our school system level and even at the usual numbers. Then the position was reinstated, and it was this board's election to not reinstate those two investigators, but two more. Since then, we've grown by more than 10% in our enrollment. It's not true? Well, it's funny, that's what I took from board actions and reading newspaper articles and reports on what's happened. So then what is not true? Could you answer?
We have not reinstated the domicile investigators.
Oh, you haven't?
No, we have not.
Well, then that's very good. Then it's obviously a different title, but that seems to be part of the statement from the domicile investigator that's suing the board. I'm sorry, I wasn't finished. That's suing the board. That was, you didn't reinstate that, those individuals when the title was reinstated. So you're saying the title was not reinstated?
No.
Okay, so then obviously though, we have 500 kids that are not historically or presently supported demographically. Can you tell me where they've come from?
That's right.
Mr. Rivera? No idea. Okay, all right. Well, I appreciate your lack of response. I think that's somewhat incriminating because these children come in at...
How about the economy, sir? Let's just go. You want to go there first? I'll go there first.
I don't want to go to the economy. I want to go to this, germane to this, my 5 minutes in front of this podium. The point is that those children bring in excess of $12,500. It doesn't seem to have made its way to the students or to leaking roofs that destroyed the gymnasium floor that's buckled up in 4 directions. I understand there was bonding not that long ago that was desired in the school budget to do roof repair. Well, if you've gone from 54.5 million to 61 or 61.2 million, and we can't repair a roof that's been leaking and leaking to the point of destruction, and another roof, then we're not planning properly. 12,500 ahead. I think one of the reasons why we're here is because this board stopped broadcasting the cable broadcasts of these board proceedings. You live in a town where Monday morning through Friday morning, these streets are empty. People get up and go to work to barely survive. It's real tough. You want to talk about the economy? That's what it's about. It's Belleville at work. We cannot come here and attend board meetings. We can, however, watch them while we're eating dinner. And I think that that's not only our privilege, it's our right. This is federal money. It's being abused. I heard such wonderful things about that go on in Belleville. It brings to mind the law, what is it, where we have the judge, once had a Supreme Court judge sit in on a trial. Really, really great publicity. All kinds of good things happening. The cable station was shut off. Can you tell me who shut it off? Why? Why or who? Why did that suddenly vanish? No answer. No answer. Okay, all right. Well, that's really incriminating to me. And all these people are here asking questions that are suddenly overwhelmed with, and they really are wondering where it came from, and they're just learning now. Nothing. Okay.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
could you please do me a favor? There's a pad and pencil on there. If you would just write down your questions, and I will get back to you.
I will submit them to you at the Board of Education while I'm filing over requests on Tuesday. Thank you.
Robert Vallon, please come to the podium. Are you Robert Vallon, sir? I'm looking for Robert Vallon.
It's Ralph.
Are you Robert Vallon, Mr.
Oh, come on.
Ralph?
I think you
Ralph.
know who I am, sir.
I think I'm looking for a Robert here.
All right, well, call me what you like. My name is Ralph Vallon. I'm going to take my 5 minutes very quickly. Mr. President, board members, administrators, council, thank you for this opportunity. It is disappointing continuously to have to stand in front of the board and have nothing but criticism and concerns to bring forth. A couple of years ago, I stood at this podium and I encouraged this board to reconsider their move not to move the elections to November. I cited the same things that you said today, that we should move the elections from April to November to increase voter participation, reduce costs, and this board unanimously said no, because you wanted to have the voters, to give the voters the opportunity to vote for the budget. That's changed, and I wonder why. Don't answer. I think I have the answer for you. You have two present sitting board members who have their eyes set on council seats. The election is in May. So, let me think. Let's move the election, keep our guys on the board, shift the energy, this positive energy that's coming from the community against you, and try to move it, stall it, stop it for political gains. So that your boys can run for council, and when they lose, try and run in November. They're going to lose in November as well. The people are awake. Mr. President, the other thing I wanted to discuss real quickly was the surveillance system. The town is being railroaded with this project. The emotions ran high when we saw those children. And yes, it's powerful. But how sad that the members of this board have embraced that sad occasion for their own benefits. A $2 million baby, $2 million. When I stood up here and I asked you not to cancel cosmetology, not to eliminate the auto program, not to cut back on the libraries, not to eliminate the domicile inspector, all of these things required money, and you said, we have no money for them.
What you do for
But we got money for who? For a $2 million surveillance package for our friends. Who's going to provide jobs for our friends and family at the expense of my little girl and my little boy. And I take offense to that. This board should listen to the public. Let's work together. There's still time. There is still time. We can still solve this. We can still work together. Change things. It's not too late. All we're asking is that the board listen to us on behalf of our children, because they can't fight this battle. We have to. And when we do, we're retaliated against.
Right.
Even a child is subject to retaliation? I wonder. Retaliation against teachers, retaliation against principals, vice principals, nurses. Don't forget what happened to the nurse who refused to change her written documentation, which would have been a violation of her commitment and obligation to the state and to the Division of Consumer Affairs. Where is she now? Where is she? Because she stood up for what was right, because she did what she was supposed to. And what did she have to do? File a lawsuit. How many lawsuits are there against this board, Mr. President? How many, sir?
Mr. Vallon, if you'd like that information,
The answer is, it's in the papers. We don't need you to tell us. I know what it is, sir.
I'm glad you do.
Okay?
Make the rest of us aware, sir.
And the school.
You have that number?
And the school,
Please
sir.
give everybody that number.
Okay? The school, a $1 giveaway of our property. Are you kidding me?
Mr. Valon, your time is up, sir. Have a good evening.
I'll be back, sir. Thank you very much.
Lou Belanti, please come to the podium, state your name, your address, and your group affiliation if appropriate.
Yeah, this is Lou Belanti, Laurel Court, Belleville. I'm born and raised in Belleville.
Right in the mic, Lou.
I'm born and raised in Belleville. I'm here for 60 years. I've sat on the board, I've sat on the council. I'm a little bit embarrassed and a little bit nervous because I can't articulate what these people have all articulated, especially the mother from school number 10. I mean, that was fantastic. From what I hear, a little embarrassing. And one of the things that I'm kind of away from this a little bit. When Al and I sat on the board together, we had an open banter with the audience. We spoke to the audience. We didn't just sit and have them dictate to us. We didn't just speak with silence. We dictate right out. We had very good banter back and forth. And that's how it always should be. It's a public meeting. People want to talk. They want their answers. You can't wait until, let me come down to the Board of Ed offices or whatever. You can't do that. You have to speak up. That's one of your obligations. To have to write your name on a list to come and speak, that's got to be embarrassing. And one of the other things embarrassing, this is reminiscent of 1996 Board of Education meetings and 2002 council meetings. We never had back and forth. Write your answers down. That, I mean, what you just said, sir, it kind of brought back a memory to me that was like, why did we run for office in the first place? Because we want to make sure that we're talking to the people and that we're able to give them what they need and give them answers. I didn't hear many answers here tonight. People are looking for answers. They're not getting any. And not too long ago, this town rose up because they didn't like what was going on before. Some of you are on this board who I've supported, very much so. I'm sorry, I don't want to be disappointed by your actions. Make sure you do the right thing, because cost of these things, like I said, I can't articulate as far as number one school. We talked about that when we were on the board. Can't talk about from what I hear of all the copying of textbooks, the security systems, all of this stuff. Trying to non-tenure a teacher, we know that's expensive. We know that's a lawsuit waiting to happen, and that's going to cost taxpayers even more money. So that's something, that's ridiculous. That's just utterly ridiculous. When I was on the board, we had Columbine. We made changes to our security systems. They've been pretty effective. God forbid anything happens. There is a median there that has to come through. You can't go overboard, you can't go overkill. But there's somewhere in the middle you can meet. Provide the security you need to provide. Because if I understand, maybe I'm wrong, but does every school has a police officer?
Yeah. Security guard. Yes.
So they have somebody in there. And every door is locked. Everybody has to come through. Everybody has to come to the principal's office. There's one entry into the building. You're making some strides. Maybe you have to do a little more. And that's okay. That's all part of it. But do something that's going to be able to give these kids what they deserve. You all ran by saying, we care for the kids. Everybody runs because we care for the kids. We'll care for the kids. Do what you're supposed to do. And make sure you have a balance in taxpayers' money. Okay?
Address some of those issues?
Absolutely.
The security system. I know that you're all talking about the cost of the security system. But within the security system, we're upgrading the infrastructure. You know that the park exam was put upon us. Every child is taking a test. You have to have half the number of computers for the children. We ordered computers, we're leasing computers, we're fixing computers. And in order to be able to use those computers, we needed to upgrade our system, our wiring, Cat 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm confused with what the number is, but I know it had to be better than what we're doing. Right. Okay, new door locks. You know how old the buildings are, the locks on the doors, everything needed to be changed. There are now, the teachers have wanted intercoms in each classroom. There are now telephones that are hooked up in each classroom.
We had the new door.
The phone system that you had, in most cases, the intercom systems, were not working both ways for you to do it in all the schools. There are phones that are being put outside, those blue emergency phones. Should anybody in the neighborhood, should anybody have any kind of issue, you can go over to any one of those phones and they will activate for you. Sometimes 911 is not available unless you're holding a cell phone.
Everybody's got a cell phone today.
She's responding to me?
No, I was just talking in general to the security system.
No, she's responding.
Thank you.
Dr. Feldman, just one other thing. You did mention that we got an upgrade of our phone system, completely revamped our phone system, because that was the phone system that we had was about. Our old phone system was about 7 years old, approximately.
The company went bankrupt. We had to change the system.
We really had little choice there.
Motion to close public participation. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Moving on to resolutions. May I have a motion on A, personnel?
So moved.
Is there a second? Is there any discussion? Mr. Vezza, please call the roll.
Resolutions, A, personnel, Mr. Kugler. Yes. Mrs. Torres. Mr. Zangari.
Yes.
Mr. Frida.
Yes.
Mrs. Lombardi. Mr. Rivera.
Yes.
Resolutions carried.
May I have a motion for B, curriculum and instruction? Ladies and gentlemen, we're still having a meeting, if you don't mind. Thank you. May I have a motion on B, curriculum and instruction?
So moved.
Is there a second? Is there any discussion? Mr. Vezza, please call the roll.
For resolutions, B, curriculum and instruction, Mr. Kugler. Mrs. Torres. Mr. Zangari.
Yes.
Mr. Frida.
Yes.
Mrs. Lombardi. Mr. Rivera.
Yes.
Resolutions carried.
May I have a motion on board action, board policy?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Yes, Mrs.
I'd like to have the following language, I would like to request that the following language be added to R7441. Nothing, yes,
Policy P.
I'm sorry, P7441. I'd like to add the following language, that nothing herein shall be construed to take the place of the instructional observation required under the collective bargaining agreement.
There's a motion on the floor to amend policy P.
I will second that motion, Mr. President.
7441.
What was the, it was sorry.
Second vote. I have a motion, do I have a second?
Mr. Frieda would like to hear it
Can you hear it?
one more time.
Can you read it again?
Read it one more time?
Can you read it one more time?
Yes,
Sorry.
it's okay. It says that nothing herein shall be construed to take the place of the instructional observation required under the collective bargaining agreement.
Thank you, Mrs. Torres.
You're welcome.
That's a motion by Mrs. Torres. I have a second from Mr. Zangari. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Vezza, please call the roll.
For resolutions, C, board action, board policy, Mr. Kugler.
Yes.
Mrs. Torres.
Yes.
Mr. Zangari.
Yes.
Mr. Frieda.
Yes.
Mrs. Lombardi.
Yes.
Mr. Rivera.
Yes.
Resolutions carried.
May I have a motion on D, purchasing and business services?
So moved.
Is there a second?
No.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Vezza, please call the roll.
For resolutions, D, purchasing and business services, Mr. Kugler.
Yes.
Mrs. Torres.
Yes.
Mr. Zangari.
Yes.
Mr. Frieda.
Yes.
Mrs. Lombardi.
Yes.
Mr. Rivera.
Yes.
Resolutions D carried.
May I have a motion on E, finance?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Vezza, please call the roll.
For E, finance, Mr. Kugler.
Yes.
Mrs. Torres. Mr. Zangari.
Yes.
Mr. Frieda.
Yes, with the exception.
Mrs. Lombardi.
Yes, with exception.
Mr. Rivera.
Yes.
Resolutions E carried.
I have a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Rivera, one last thing. Mr. Vezza, could you please send out a letter from the board office to Milan Specialty for the donation of EpiPens?
Noted.
That we can potentially save children's lives. I second the motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you and good night.